Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, guys, are you ready to take your business from burnt out to booked out with dream clients? So today's episode is focused on specifically those of you who are designers. So website designers, brand designers, stationery designers, graphic designers of all sorts. This one's for you. And if you're not a designer, I would still encourage you to listen because if you work with clients at all, I think you'll really gain something from this episode. But to start, I have to say, I could not be more excited about this episode. And I hope my enthusiasm comes through as I talk about this. I'm actually recording this at the end of the workday, so hopefully I can stay as high energy as I feel on the inside. But this episode has been a long time coming. And if you follow me on Instagram or if you've listened to this podcast super regularly, then you probably heard me talk about how I'm launching a course for designers on how to run a booked out design business. And it is finally time for that launch. And I've had this dream in my heart for years and years. Been working on this course for a really long time. The course is still not done. We're doing a beta launch before it's finished, which I'm super excited about. But I've worked on this a really long time. So if any of you have had a project that just feels like it's taken you forever because you poured like every ounce of your soul and brain is how it feels too, into it, then you know that like getting another big step closer and finally launching, it feels huge. But I want to share something that has not been shared publicly yet. And I still haven't decided when this episode's going to air. So this might actually be me sharing it a little sooner than I was thinking, but I want to share the name of the course. So what is the name? The name of the course is Booked Out Designer. And I've talked about this course so many times and it's been nameless this whole time, even the wait list, there's no name for it right now. But that's what the name of the course is, Booked Out Designer. The subtext is with Elizabeth McCravey. And I chose that name because that's what I'm teaching you how to do. The goal of this course is to teach you how to be a booked out designer. And I'm just so excited about it. It's going to have a huge focus on marketing, on processes, on going from that feeling of chasing down clients to finally having a wait list and being booked out consistently and making the money you're hoping to make as a designer full time. So I hope you are as excited as I am for Booked Out Designer. Again, I just cannot believe it's finally here. And all respect to every person out there who's ever created a really big course because it is a lot of work. So now that we have all that fun stuff covered, I want to get into this specific topic, how to take your business from burnt out to booked out, or another way to phrase it, from no clients, and that is burning you out, to being booked out. And I am, like I said, focused on designers in this episode, but if you work with clients in another way, you just can apply these to your non-design business. So on the waitlist survey for the Booked Out Designer course, I got so many questions that were around the topic of, I'm literally going to read some of the questions right now, but how do you go from very few clients a year to being completely booked out? How do I find the clients? What different factors played a role to scale your business from startup to a high-end designer with a waiting list? How do I get dream clients that pay my worth? How do I consistently attract ideal clients? Those were a lot of the common themes that you guys who got on the waitlist already were asking. And so in this episode, I want to give you the quote, what do you need for those things to happen, for you to be booked out, for you to get a waitlist, for you to not be hunting down clients, for you to be working with ideal clients, all of it. So here we go. These are not in any order of importance. These are just literally the order I thought of them in. So let's dive in. Okay, the first thing you need to go from burnt out to booked out in your design business, you need processes for all the different things you do in your business. So I'm all about processes. And in my business, we have processes for basically everything. Nothing is just living in my head. It's all down somewhere in a system. And here's why processes are so important, I think. Like I was just saying, it gets stuff out of your brain where you have to try to remember what needs to happen and onto a system that you or someone else can just follow. So I've not always had great processes. And early on in my business, I remember so many times where not having processes caused me to have anxiety as a business owner, to forget things, all of it. Because I didn't really have documented processes for most things. So it all just lived in my head. And because of that, things would fall through the cracks all the time. And what I did often wasn't that consistent. So like, for example, I would do something, say, for 2 clients in a row on their website. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I remembered to do that final step, that thing that's so easy to forget and about. And then for the next client, I would forget because it was just living in my head. Or the testimonial type survey questions I send clients after I'm done working with them might change client to client because I'm just typing it up, not really putting much effort into it. The discovery call process of what happens before, after, during, all of it with the discovery call might be different client to client because there's no real system. And I'm kind of like, oh yeah, something worked really good last time. But that last discovery call was a few months ago and I don't really remember. So pretty quickly, I wish I remembered how quickly it was, but pretty quickly I started making processes. And even those changed and moved so much over the course of me doing work with clients because I learned what worked, what didn't. I simplified things for some stuff and made some other things more complex. But a few things in particular when I was thinking about this that I think you need a process for as a designer. The first thing is discovery calls and booking clients. So that process of like someone has inquired with you over email or Instagram or wherever the inquiry comes in, and then taking them from either booked with you or on a wait list right now or not booked. That process of like how to get them to that point is so important to be looking at. Another one is the whole client experience start to finish. So onboarding, getting content from the client, gifting, calls, launching, offboarding, all of it. I mean, there's so many steps. That was just like the tiniest overview, but having a process for that. And then another process is for blogging your work post project. So I like to blog about my clients after I do projects. And I have a whole process for that I think works really well. And because I have a process, it doesn't really fall through the cracks. So a fun thing in Booked Out Designer, I will actually be giving you my processes for all those things I just mentioned and some other stuff as well. So if you want to know just like, hey, what has worked for Elizabeth, and then you can adapt it, then you'll definitely want to get the course because once it's completely finished, that's going to be something that's in it. And I'm really excited to include all of that because, again, I think processes are so important. So that's the first one. You need processes for all the different things you do in your business. Number 2, you need a minimal but effective experience that you take your clients through. So hear how I said minimal but effective. So I believe that more stuff is not always more success with clients. I think sometimes we think the more steps, the more calls, the more questionnaires, the more meetings we do, the better an experience it is, the more high end, the more luxury. We're a designer who really cares because we're asking all these important questions and we're meeting with you more and all of that kind of stuff. And I just completely disagree with that advice. And I remember hearing that advice early on and beefing up what I was doing clients and quickly being like, wait, this actually isn't making it better for me. It's not making it better for them. I'm just spending way more time talking to clients and getting information from them than I am on the actual project. So you want to make things as easy as possible for your clients. And when you make it easy for them, you make it easier for you and things move quicker and everyone's happier. So for my client experience, I don't make people fill out 1 million Dubsado forms. I don't make people do a bunch of 1 hour, like, let's discover your brand and figure out your messaging calls. I don't do a lot of those. I don't email my clients constantly. Fun thing, that's a whole nother podcast episode. I don't email with clients. Once they're booked with me, they're put into a system and we communicate that way, not over email. And we have other ways we communicate. So I love that. So I have a system that's minimal for them that I take them through. And if you're anything like me anyway, I mean, gosh, I do not want to be talking to clients on the phone 24/7. I do not want to be on Zoom having video calls every week. I like to start a project, go deep into like what I love to do, which is designing and getting strategic and making something really fun that matches their vision for their business, and then to get paid for it. You're not doing this to talk on the phone with your clients. So to recap, you need a minimal but effective experience you take your clients through. And like I kind of said in point number 1, I'll be sharing my entire process for working with clients in this course. There's a whole module on it. And I'm also including, I think this is so cool, I'm including video calls with clients in the course. So you're going to get to see like literally, here's Elizabeth, here's her client, here's what the purpose of the call was. And I'll be interrupting the call throughout to kind of tell you, here's why I said that then, here's why I asked this question, and you just get to watch it. And I think interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. Gosh, I mean, the reason I'm doing this in the course is because I think this is one of the best ways to learn. And something I always feel when I hear advice from people is like, I just want to see you do it. Like, that's something I feel a lot, for example, around team meetings. I love hearing about how people run their team meetings, which is so great. But then I'm like, I want to see your team meeting. Like, that would be more helpful to me than hearing that you do this thing then and then this thing and that thing. And maybe I'll include a team meeting call too. That would actually be really cool. I could totally do that, record one of our calls and then put it in there. But that's why I'm doing these calls with clients. So you'll get to see what an onboarding call looks like, discovery calls on Zoom, offboarding calls, a strategy call. There's a bunch of different ones. You're going to see with a variety of different clients too, to kind of get to see how, gosh, I mean, all clients' personalities and needs are so different. So I think those calls will also show that really well. So you can see what my communication with clients look like and how I communicate too that isn't all calls or emailing. There's some stuff too that relates to another way I communicate with clients, which I'll kind of keep a secret for the course. So that's number 2. You need a minimal but effective experience to take your clients through. Okay, number 3. You need to know your business finances, know your numbers. So you can't measure how well you're doing, if you're growing, if you're charging enough, all of that stuff without looking at the finances for your business. So you need to be able to know at any given point, you don't have it in your brain, but you need to have something you can look at to know what payments are coming in soon in the next few months. What expenses are hitting? Are there any abnormal expenses that are not your baseline expenses every month? Just all the numbers, basically. And something I'm so pumped for in this course is that I'm putting my finance spreadsheet in the course for you guys. So there will be a video on how to use it, how to set it up, and then you'll be able to duplicate it. It is a Google spreadsheet, so you'll be able to just copy it Or if you want to download it and use it in Excel, you could do that too instead of Google Sheets. But you'll have that to use. And this spreadsheet that I've included, oh my gosh, you've probably all heard me talk about this like a million times on the podcast at this point, but I've been using a variation of the spreadsheet since like day one. No joke, day one of my business. Like I started out with this spreadsheet and every year I duplicate it and keep on moving. And so this spreadsheet literally is a duplicate of my one from 2020. And then I've adapted it and simplified it some. And there were a lot of issues with it where I was like, because I got so used to how it worked, it all made sense to me. But I put more like descriptions and stuff like that in it, so it'll make sense for you guys. But I think it's just so fun to just put my spreadsheet in there. I don't know. I think there's something cool about it because it really has been with me my entire business. And I think that's special and it works. And I would say too, just to clarify, this doesn't replace an accounting software like QuickBooks, because you will want to be able to categorize expenses for tax purposes, which this is not going to do for you. But this is going to help you be able to look at your life and say, in 4 months, if nothing else happens, I know I'll earn, say, $7,000 because of these upcoming payment plans with clients. And I know I'll get this much from affiliate income or whatever. And then you might be able to say, if no other expenses happen besides my typical baseline expenses, then this is how much profit will come in. And this is how much I'll pay myself. And this is how much will go to taxes. You can look in and say, how much have I paid myself so far this year? If you've listened a few episodes back, maybe like 10 episodes, I talked about this, of the numbers you need to pay attention to in your business. One of them is how much you're actually paying yourself. Because so often we just want to say what our revenue numbers is, or what they are, not is. But that's not really the number that affects your life. What affects your life is not even just the profits, but what actually goes to you to support your goals and the things you're building in your personal life. So that's a great way to use the spreadsheet. And again, I still use the spreadsheet. I have a 2021 version that is literally the exact same one I'm putting in the course. I'm using the way cleaner one for 2021, which I'm super excited about because, like I said, my other one was getting really messy. Another thing that's fun, we're using it for our real estate business. So you guys have heard Adam and I are buying real estate. We already have our first property. And by the time this airs, we actually might have closed on the second property. And we have a tenant already in the first property, everything. So it's really fun. But literally when we were like, okay, we got to start tracking income in, expenses out, what is actually happening in the business. And I literally went into my giant Google Drive folder for this course and I duplicated the spreadsheet and I put it in our Google Drive folder that is for the real estate business. And I sat down with Adam and I taught him how to use it. I'm like, this is how we use the spreadsheet. And he loves the spreadsheet, I must say. He has really enjoyed it and thinks it's nice and extensive. So we're literally using it for that business too. So whether it's using, though, this spreadsheet that's going to come in the course, or if you have your own spreadsheet, that's great too. It does not have to be perfect, but the goal is that you need to know the numbers. It shouldn't be a guess. If you listen a few episodes back, or maybe one episode back again, I don't know when we're going to air this, but my bookkeeper Madison came on the podcast and we talked a lot about this, of knowing your numbers. And she had some great advice on that too. So if this one feels like something you really need more help on, go listen to that one as well. So yeah, you need to know your business finances. And another reason to know it that I really think was impactful to me, especially early on in my business when I was just working with clients, and early on, when you're really like in that phase of like, you know, you might be booked out for 2 months, but then you're like, where's the next client going to come from? It was helpful to me to always know, if nothing else happens, here's how much I make. And then that's helpful to be able to say like, okay, so I need to book a client this month. They might not be starting working with me until 2 months later, but I need to get someone on the calendar with that deposit. And it just changes up your strategy and mindset. And I think it gives a level of comfort. For me, I'm someone who needs a lot of information, and the spreadsheet gives that to me. So that's the third thing. Hey friend, I am interrupting this episode because if you've been listening since the beginning, you heard me say that my course Booked Out Designer was opening soon. Well, this is an older episode with an update here from me to tell you that Booked Out Designer is here and it's amazing. And you can actually join right now if you're ready to stop the burnout and start booking clients consistently and learning how to market your business with much more ease. So whether you just started out or maybe you've been at it a few years, but you're not seeing the results you want in your business business, this course and the coaching program are absolutely made for you. So Booked Out Designer, it helps you build a thriving, money-making design business that keeps you booked out but not burnt out. There are over 90 video lessons covering everything from things like pricing your services and delivering an awesome client experience to marketing yourself confidently on Instagram. And we talk about things like eliminating those awkward discovery calls. You also have access to group coaching calls with me and our incredible Facebook community to ask questions in. Students are literally calling it the best course I've ever taken. Thank you, Erica, for that feedback. And Amanda says, I've never taken so much out of a course with every single video. Elizabeth, this course is amazing. And Nora says, honestly, enrolling in this course is the best decision I've made all year. If you're like me, then you like to see things before you buy. I know I like to get a little inside peek before I make a decision about something like this. So I want to offer you the ability to sample 2 lessons of Booked Out Designer completely free, and then also get a full preview of what is included in this incredible course. So go to elizabethmccravey.com/sample to get your free lessons. No credit card required. You just sign up. You get access to 2 free lessons, and also you'll be able to kind of tour the course. It's really cool. And if you're already I don't even want to see that, I'm ready to join, the link to join is in the show notes. And as always, I'm here to answer any questions. So feel free to email me or message me on Instagram. And I hope you're enjoying the episode and hope to see you inside our Booked Out Designer community sometime soon. All right, let's get back to it. All right, moving on to number 4. All right, number 4, I love this one. You need to network online really well and with intention and strategy. So networking, oh my gosh, what a topic. It sometimes gets a sleazy reputation. I don't necessarily even love the word networking, but I feel like that's the most accurate way to say this. So that's the word I'm using. And maybe I'll come up with some other word later to use for it. But I think the way I teach networking, the way I do networking, it's not sleazy. And it's actually the way you build your business. You make friends that literally can become lifelong friends that totally get what you're doing as a business owner. And it leads to so much good stuff. So this has quickly become one of my favorite topics in the course. And I realized when I came up, this is literally a whole module. There's a whole module on networking. I didn't say that already, but this quickly came one of my favorite topics because I realized when I was thinking about, okay, what do I want to teach about networking? That this is one of the things that helped me grow my business the most. And I was literally realized it because one of the questions that came in I think it was on our 2020 survey, but a question that happened a lot was what is something that made the biggest impact in you finding clients? That was kind of a recurring question. And this is something I would say that possibly made the biggest impact, or at least really high up there. In reality, growing our business is a combination of so many things, but I think this is a huge one. So different ways I encourage you to network and learn how to network and focus on networking. These are the categories I would say are most important. So first one, relationships with fellow designers. So other people who do exactly what you do. Or let's say, you're a website designer, you don't do branding, then brand designers would be another great group to look at. If you maybe are a website designer and then someone who does brochures and books and things of that nature, just other people in your industry. A second group would be fellow creatives that are working with your clients too. So people if for designers, again, people who also work with our clients are going to be people like copywriters, photographers, business coaches. Again, if you, there's so many. Those are some that come to mind immediately. They're copywriters and photographers. But relationships with fellow creatives that your clients are also hiring. Another area to focus on when it comes to where to network with these people would be Instagram and Facebook groups. I feel like all of us designers at some point do a ton of networking in Facebook groups. If not always, I still feel like I do a ton of networking in Facebook groups, but it's a great way to go, great place to go to find clients. But I do think there's a way to do it right and a way to do it wrong. And so I'll be talking about the right way to do in the course. And then Instagram's another one that I just think is such an effective place to network. Another thing to really hone in on in your business is how to effectively pitch yourself for podcast speaking opportunities and guest blogging. And note that I said effectively because there are certainly ways to do really bad pitches and not even realize you're not pitching yourself well. And those opportunities of podcast guests, speaking, guest blogging, all of it is such a huge way to grow your business. And it's really fun. It'll help you be better at what you do when you really learn to put yourself out there confidently and become someone who's educating on the industry. I think it's really important. And then the last important networking thing is at events, which right now, we haven't had that with COVID. And when I say networking at events, I actually specifically do mean in-person events because there's something different than a virtual event. Networking at in-person events can be so amazing. Like, oh my gosh, I've talked about this a ton in the course, but there's so much good that comes out of it. So many amazing friendships, job opportunities, all of it. But that comes from the talking at lunch between sessions and things like that, not on a Zoom event. So anyway, those are the ways I'd say are really encourage you to learn networking. And in this course, there's a video on each of those and a few others too. But I seriously believe this is one of the best ways to get clients. And I've gotten so many clients through both relationships with other designers and with other industry peers like copywriters. And I've also given clients to other designers where it's I'm booked up. This amazing potential client reaches out to me and I'm like, I can't work with you right now, but here's an amazing designer who can. And I refer those designers through relationships that were developed over time, which again, I'm going to share tons of examples of how to go about doing this well in the course and just building relationships. It's so fun. Again, I seriously love this. So that's something to really hone in on. And again, this one, I feel could have been one of the first ones I said even because I think it's so important if we were going in order, which like I said, we're not. But yeah, networking, that's number 4. Okay, so back to the list. Number 5, how to take your business, again, from burnt out to booked out. You should consistently raise your prices as you get better at your craft and raise your prices to match demand. So as you get better at what you do, your prices can increase. As you change up your packages, your prices can increase. As you become more in demand, your prices can increase. So basically after every project, literally every project, I'd encourage you to look at your prices and consider raising them slightly. And I have a system for this that I'm going to teach in the course. But basically, guys, you're allowed to change your prices whenever you want to. Seriously, whenever you want to. And you would, of course, when I say whenever you want to, you'd be keeping your word on any proposals that haven't expired. So, if you spoke to a client on the phone a few weeks ago and now you're up $1,000, you're going to stick with what you told them. And obviously any clients who are already booked on your calendar that you haven't started with, but that price that you're marketing on your website or in your welcome packet or wherever, you can change that whenever you want. And as your demand increases, your prices can increase as well. This is just basic economics that I think oftentimes we forget about as online business owners. So as an example, when toilet paper and hand sanitizer was so scarce for a while in 2020, they both became really expensive. Yeast was another one. I still remember when we were just we just want to bake some pizza. I just want to make some bread. And looking on Amazon at yeast, and it was literally selling for $20 for a singular package of yeast. And that's because the demand for yeast was really high to match the availability of it. And this, again, can be true for your business. So when you get to a place where you're steadily booking clients and you're in demand, your prices should match the demand. And this is a skill and something not to gloss over because forgetting to do this loses you money. And so it's something to pay attention to. And again, I think we can get so wrapped up in just working with clients that we don't really pay attention to the price raising stuff. So you want to raise your prices on a system and change them up. Keep increasing. And another reason too, I didn't say this, but when we talk about increasing after every project, ideally, it'd be nice if you're booked out a few months. When you finish a project, it's say you have 3 months of projects already booked up. So when you're changing your price, that's actually for 4 months away clients. So after you've done a few more projects even. So it's if you don't increase it then when that client books with you, it's going to be you're months better as a designer after having all these other projects under your belt, but they're still paying the same. Your packages might have changed, all of it. So anyway, you need to consistently raise your prices as you get better and to match your demand. Okay, I have 2 more. I'm really excited about these last 2. So number 6, this one is so important. Maybe I'll do a whole podcast on this one. at some point. But number 6, you need to understand how to work with luxury clients and how it's different from working with someone who is newer in their business and therefore paying a different price. So I hate the word luxury clients. Let me just go ahead and say that. And I actually, when I was like making these notes, I was like, is there a different phrase I can use for that? So to kind of explain what I mean by that, I mean clients that are paying higher prices, are going to be easygoing to work with, and are dreamy to you. Which someone who's dreamy to you might actually be someone who's not dreamy to me. I don't know. Everyone's different. But that's how I would describe this. So luxury, high paying is another typical way we hear this phrase. And that does not mean that clients who pay less are worse or not as equal or anything like that. But as you grow your business, it's nice to be able to work with clients who can afford those prices. Like we were saying in number 5, like you're raising your prices, you need people who can afford the higher prices. And that's typically going to be people in this group that I'm talking about. So typically higher paying clients are going to have a few things in common. There's a lot of things they'll have in common, but 2 in particular I want to talk about right now is 1, they will have been in business longer typically. So they'll likely have already had like a logo and website designed many times before, or at least one time before. So they've done this. You're not the first designer they've worked with. And then they typically have a team who works with them in their business. So you might be working with them directly, or you might be working with them and their project manager, their copywriter, their personal assistant, their marketing manager, all these other roles in their business. They could even have an in-house designer. I've had clients that were that case where they had an in-house designer who was not a website designer. I've had that happen a few times, actually, now that I think about it. And then I was working with that person some even. And so that's just 2 of the many ways they're going to be different from a newer client who has a tighter budget for their design work. And just explain real fast, like how working with these traits is going to be different. If they've already done the whole branding thing a few times, like they've already had a website and stuff like that, then the discovery process of like their colors and fonts and messaging, all that is going to be different because they might already know who they are as a brand and you're just bringing it to life. They also might be working on a copywriter too, who's kind of doing a lot of that for the project. And then with the team stuff, if they have a small team, a large team, just anyone besides themselves really, that they're used to managing, it's possible that a team member will actually be your point of contact for the project instead of the business owner. Or if you are working with the business owner and maybe their team is involved as well, the business owner is likely going to be better, or at least really good, maybe not better, because I do think a lot of, I've worked with plenty of brand new business owners who are good at this, but they're going to be good at handing things off and trusting you and delegating because they're used to delegating because they have a team. And this isn't always true, but I've found this to be true personally. People who have teams typically are better at just being like, yep, I trust you. I'm used to trusting people to take things and run with them. So I feel like you'll see that some. And again, I could go on, but that's just 2 quick examples. So I've worked one-on-one with clients at all different points in their business, from like I just got started to I've been in business 10 years and longer, all of it. And I love all the experiences. I love working with brand new business owners specifically, even because it's just so fun and you get to be a part of such a foundational thing for them. And that's the time when it's really important to have a great designer too, when you're doing that like pivotal setup phase for what your brand and business is going to look like. But anyway, I also like working with clients who've been in business a lot longer, and it truly is different. It's a different way to serve, different needs. And so you need to adapt your process, possibly the way you communicate, all of it from client to client. And it's important to know that and how you're going to do that. So this is something I cover a lot in the course. And you'll also get a great glimpse into this with those video calls I was mentioning that you're going to get to see me doing calls with clients. I feel like this one in particular, you will really be able to see from those calls. There's a few of them where I'm on a call with like 5 people because it's the whole team that is on the call with the business owner. So there you go. Number 6, you need to understand how to work with luxury clients. All right. And the final thing, number 7, I should also say before I say number 7, I could have come up with like a million things for this. These are just the top ones, but I'm like, okay, what are the top things that are going to help you take your business from burnt out to booked out? These are some of the top things I came up with. But again, there are so many. Building a successful business is not just one thing. It's a combination of so many. So anyway, number 7, be confident at selling on discovery calls. I've mentioned discovery calls a few times already. That's because it's super, super important. And this comes with practice and watching it be done and having a system. I certainly have not always been confident on discovery calls. I've had so many failed, horrible discovery calls that felt like absolute disasters where like I didn't know the answer to questions, or I was like so timid, or the client was kind of like rude and standoffish, or those moments, which I'm sure you've experienced, where like maybe y'all didn't talk about the price before the call, which is something we will talk about in the course. But then you say, they're like, hey, how much is it? And then you say a number, and then they're just like, oh my gosh, like they could never pay that much. Like, why are you? It's like you wasted, 30 minutes or even sometimes longer on a call with them when they never intended to pay that price. And it's just super awkward. So I've had plenty of calls like that. And I've also had plenty of awesome calls, even early on in my business. And then plenty of awesome discovery calls now. And I still get nervous on discovery calls. Sometimes there have been plenty recently for me when I've been nervous beforehand. But you can be nervous and confident at the same time. And the reason I think confidence is so important on these calls is because this is where the sales happen. This is where you get booked out. And so this moment of being able to confidently pitch your stuff, confidently listen to the potential client's needs and really understand them and figure out like, are you the right person to help them? What do they actually need? Sometimes a potential client comes to you thinking they need this one package you offer, but maybe they need something else. You have to be able to like adapt and move with that. So this is something to really focus on. There will be a whole module in the course on discovery calls, along with some Zoom discovery call examples that you can watch me do. And I do have a discovery call sales script I'll be sharing. But at the same time, I'm not really into the sales script thing. I see that more as like a framework you can follow and that you should adapt for every single call to be slightly different. So yeah, I think sometimes like when we buy these like, okay, this is exactly what you have to do step by step on a call. We try to do it and then we're just so like robotic that we miss opportunities for connection because we're trying to stick too heavily to the script. So anyway, I will have a script technically, but it's more so like a framework to help guide you on how to do a successful discovery call. And then of course, like everything in life, I want you to adapt it to your own business and figure out like, okay, this is what Elizabeth does, but like, what should I do? How can I make this my own? Or you can keep it the same if you want to just do the way I'm doing. So that's something to focus on, confidence at selling on discovery calls. So there you have it, you guys, how to take your business from burnt out to booked out as a designer. And oh my gosh, I'm just like so ecstatic having just recorded all that because I seriously cannot wait for this course. And if you're listening to this way into the future, then hey, the course is already launched. So I will put the link to that in the show notes. And you can just come on and join us, become a booked out designer yourself. But seriously, this has been a dream of mine, a goal of mine, something I've felt so passionate about of helping other designers actually make money in their design business and feel fulfilled and have fun and everything. So anyway, that's that. And to kind of say again in the intro, if you missed it, the private founding member launch will be happening February 22nd through the 26th. And the only way to get in on that launch is to be on the wait list. I'm doing a private launch, you could say a beta launch, just to that list. And there's actually a lot of people already on the list, and we're limiting the amount of people that will be accepted as founding members. You're not applying, you're just purchasing it, but we're going to cap it at a certain number. So once that number's hit, it's going to close. Or if we don't hit the number and we just get through the whole launch, then it'll close then too. So anyway, elizabethmccurry.com/waitlist, and then you'll get an email and some info, and then you'll be able to hear all about the course, and then we can talk about it. And I hope that if this is something that feels exciting to you and feels like something that would help you really thrive and build the business you're hoping for, that you'll come join me in it, because I'd love to coach you. I'd love to teach you, and I'd love for you to be part of this community I'm trying to build. So, okay, that is it, you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast today and for staying until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my online course and coaching program for designers, Booked Out Designer. In this program, I teach you how to build a successful, in-demand, booked out business as a designer. You'll learn everything from the exact experience I take my clients through to things like figuring out your niche, mastering discovery calls, pricing your services for profit, creating contracts that will not cause you legal troubles, and my exact social media strategies to book clients. You even get to watch recordings of me in actual meetings with my actual clients so you can really learn through what you're seeing. We take things you're learning on this podcast and so many topics I never even cover on this show and deep dive into them. So in addition to the amazing course, the course is 9 modules of teaching with over 90 lessons. You get group coaching calls with me and access to an exclusive Facebook community of designers just like you. And fun fact, this isn't one of those kind of Facebook groups where the founder never comments on posts or you never see them in there. You'll find me in there all the time, ready to help you out with any business question you have. So to get info on the course and to see when the doors will be opening again, head to elizabethmccravey.com/BOD, short for Booked Out Designer. I hope to be able to coach you and teach you inside of the course soon. And don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. And a great way to support the show is to leave a rating and review, share it with a friend, share it on social media. All of that will help get the word out. All right, I'll see you again next week.